Everyone, this is Linda from Linda Stitchens, and I had done this little snowman on a towel that I had made for myself, but I thought I'd share some of the things that I learned while I did it. So we're going to open up a SuperDesign in Digitizing and make some changes. We're going to add some Fringe. We're going to move between the modules back and forth, and we're going to add some more SuperDesigns, and we're going to move parts within the film strips. And I filmed this using MySewnet Platinum subscription, but it's basically the same as doing it in the MySewnet non-subscription box version. So I said I would do a really quick video on doing this, so I'm going to real quickly do this. It's pretty simple about bringing a super design into digitizing in the MySewnet software and making some changes. I found it was much easier to do it here for me. I could change all kinds of properties and insert some other things. So I'm going to do a file, and I'm going to do a new window, do a blank canvas. And I'm going to leave it at the 200 by 200 hoop, which is fine. Actually, you could change it to whatever you want, but we'll just leave it at the 200 by 200. And so what I want to do is actually go directly to digitizing. So I'm going to go to create. I'm going to go to digitizing. It's going to open up a window for me, and I'm going to say start a new design with no picture. Next, and yep, the 200 by 200 is fine. And so now I've got this nice blank screen. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to insert a super design, and I'm going to look for snowman. And this is the one I'm going to use. And I'm going to just insert him. Now he's not as big as I want him to be, so I'm just going to hold my control and my shift key in order to do this. So I make both sides of everything going at the same time. So he's about what I want right now. I'm going to close my insert super designs, but there's lots of detail here, and I'm not real crazy about his eyes or his mouth, and there's a couple of things I just want to get rid of. So what I found was what I could do is I come over here where it says group, and I'm going to do a right mouse, and I'm going to say ungroup it, so my things start disappearing. So I do need to keep this, I need to keep this, I need to keep this. So as I went through and I just found the things I don't need. Now I know I don't need anything that's in the green area, so I'm just going to highlight, and I'm going to go down here, and I'm hold my shift key and get rid of everything that's green. And I got rid of all that. So now what I want to do is I need to keep moving. So this is my pattern. Oop, my mouse is being funny here. I need to look at my white stuff that I want to keep. I don't want that. I do want that. I don't want that. I don't care about that. I don't care about that, and I don't care about this, and I don't care about this. So this is the only one I need to keep. So I can click on Satin Column. I'm going to hold my Control key and then click on these items, and I'm just going to hit Delete. So those now are gone. So I still have that part that's up here that I need to keep. I'm going to keep my nose just as it is, but I don't want this part of the broom. Right mouse, delete. Pattern fill of the broom, right mouse, and delete. Now I don't need that color stop either, so I can get rid of that. So I'm going to do a right mouse, and I'm going to delete that. Now this is also part of the broom, and I don't want any of that. So I'm going to, again, here's this. I'm going to hold my shift key so I get all of it, and right mouse, and I'm going to do delete. So I got rid of that. Okay. So now this is actually getting into my scarf. Now I don't want this portion of the scarf because I'm going to change that. So I'm going to do a right mouse button, and I'm going to do a delete on that one because I'm going to put some fringe in here, and I'm going to leave everything else the same. This is my other pattern fill. Now I'm going to get in here and satin column, and this is getting into my eyes and my mouth, and I'm just going to get rid of all that. I'm going to start with my black there. I'm going to hold my shift key and highlight that, and I'm going to right mouse, and I'm going to do delete. So those are all gone. But I still have this part right here that I need to get rid of. So I can come up here. I don't want that. I'm going to I can either hit delete, right mouse, or whichever way I want to do it. This one I don't want. Nope. Okay, so I'm basically down to what I actually want to keep, but I need to make some changes in here initially. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right mouse to get rid of my selection tool, select here so that I have that. I'm going to zoom in, right mouse to deselect my zoom, and I need to actually get rid of all of these. So I can do delete points. Now, normally in Stitch Editor, you would actually go in and do box select, but if I do a box select, it tries to grab the whole thing, and I just want this part gone. So I'm going to do delete points, and I'm going to just click on the points I want to get rid of. And those are all now gone. Now, the big thing to remember is that you need to make sure right mouse click so that delete points is no longer there. And then I'm just going to go, because I want this more rounded, I can actually just touch this and make these more rounded and then move these around a little bit. And I can do that, and I'm going to move this down a little bit so he's not quite so high up here. But I can continue to do that until I got pretty much what I want. So it's pretty close. I might make that a little bit more rounder. All right, so now I want to change the properties of this. This is actually a pattern fill, and I want to change this. I'm going to do a right mouse button, and I'm going to change this from a pattern fill to a satin area. And then I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to pick the satin area I want to change it to. So I'm just going to go in here, and I'm going to grab one of these. Now, if I had just changed it to a straight satin area and changed that to a 0, let me just show you what happens. It makes it long. Now, of course, the density is not right, so I'm going to right mouse, and I'm going to change the density to about a 2 and do OK. But when I look at that, that's a really long stitch, so I'm going to add some detail in here. I'm going to do a right mouse. I'm going to change this. And I'm going to come down here to one of the standard ones here. Oops. I'm going to pick on that one and do OK. So it kind of changed it a little bit, but I think I want a little bit more detail. I'm going to do a right mouse again, and I'm going to change this one. And let's go to a smaller one here. But you see how now it's got some nice little things in here, and I can actually change the way this looks a little bit. So it's kind of tight, and by using changing that to a rounded area, by clicking on it, I've changed it round. I can also change some things here. So this is something you can actually play with to change the way this is going to look. And that just changed it into a nice little satin for my little ribbon. All right, so let's pick on our nose. Oh, I see a color I don't need. I can actually click on that and delete it. So let's change the information about this wonderful little nose here. Now, I added some things so that it kind of had some more depth to it. And so I go over here, right mouse, I'm going to insert a color change. And I'm going to go to a dark brown. And so now what I want to do is with this guy, I want to actually select him, pattern fill, right mouse, copy, and I'm going to go right here where the brown is at. I'm going to do paste. So by doing copy and paste, it puts it directly on top. And so I want it, and I'm going to go to properties, and I'm going to change this one into, let's try a spiral fill instead. And the other thing I did is I changed my gradient a little bit. So I'm going to change the density at this end, and I'm going to make it not quite so dense, and I'm going to make it like a 5. And then at this end, I might make it the opposite. So I'm going to select here, and I'm going to change that to maybe a 15. Let's see how that works. Not too bad. And I can change my orientation point to make some changes of the way that looks. I like that because it kind of gives that whole thing a nice texture. Carrots aren't just plain orange. So I'm going to now select this and make this a group. Select down here. I'm going to hold my shift key and come down to where the spiral fill is, right mouse, and group it. That way, when I make changes to one, it makes it to the other. And I'm going to flip this up just a little bit because I want his nose pointing up in the air. And I can move it around. But now because it's a group, I can now move things more easily. All right, so let's add some eyes. You could do a couple of different things. You could, I didn't like the eyes that it had. I wanted to do something different, but I'm going to do some insert lettering. So I'm going to click on, and I can leave it right there. Insert lettering. And I have traditional Georgia 20 to 40, and I'm actually going to make my first one about 50 because I want my eyes to be fairly big. And I'm just going to use a period. And I'm going to do insert. Now, when you insert a letter, it always puts in the bottom left corner down here. And I'm going to take this guy and I'm going to drag him up. Be careful when you drag that you're getting the 4 arrows on this. And it's also blue, and I don't want his eyes to be blue. I actually want him to be black. So I'm going to double click here, and I'm going to change it to one of the dark. It's actually a dark navy, but that's okay. And I want it to be elongated. So instead of it being just round, I'm going to just make it a little elongated, flip it around a little bit. Now on my original one, I actually took one of the emojis, which is only available for those with the subscription. So I decided I'd do it this way instead. Now I can duplicate this. I'm going to cancel out of there, and I'm going to duplicate, and I'm going to move this guy over here, and I'm going to kind of move him into place. And let's see what he looks like. Okay, so he's not too bad. If I wanted to highlight, I could actually put a little dot up here. I'm going to use that same font in order to create the smile down here. I'm going to do, again, insert lettering, and I'm going to leave it about 20, a period, insert. Again, it's going to put it down there in the bottom left-hand corner, and I'm going to go grab it. Again, being very careful to not grab the center or to grab one of the corners. Make sure you're getting the 4 arrows like this. Oh, see what I did? And I'm going to go this, and I'm going to do undo, and I'm going to make sure I have the 4 arrows, and then I can place it. Again, I want to change the color, so I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to do insert the black, or it's actually navy blue, and now I can do, so I now have part of my smile started, so I'm going to do duplicate, and I'm going to move that into place. This is why I really wish I had Encore in Create, but we don't, so we have to do our own thing. And you can duplicate these until you have, oh, grab the wrong spot again. Duplicate. Okay, so let's make our, actually, let's just keep on going. Okay, so now what we need to do is, let's see what he looks like so far. Not too bad. So let's go and grab and add the fringe down here to the bottom. So I'm going to come down here, and I want my fringe to come in here. And I'm not sure why that's showing black. I know why it's showing black. It's because I inserted in the wrong spot, but that's okay. We're going to fix that real quick because it's this one, right? Nope, it's not that one. Let's go down here, and I'm going to go grab. This is what I love about these film strips. Is I'm going to take and I'm going to drag that up there. And I'm going to drag that up there. Don't you just love when I make the same mistakes? I could change the fill patterns on this, but I'm not going to. But I want to actually insert another color change. So I'm going to do, I'm going to go to point create. I'm going to do color change, and I'm only doing this so that it stands out and I can change the color of threads that I want to use. So I'm just going to use an orange. It doesn't really matter. But following the directions from the Vantage newsletter that came out back in October, doing the fringe tree, if you haven't done that, it's a really good exercise on doing this. So I'm going to actually take, and I'm not going to have a pattern fill, and I'm basically following the same instructions that Phil and Don had already shown us how to do. And I'm going to do a satin column. I'm going to, that were back there, I'm going to go to column. I'm going to do satin column. And I'm going to have the pattern be 0. The density is 4. The these are neither one of these are checked. Compensation is 0, so it looks good. So I'm going to just do OK. And then I'm going to come into, I'm going to actually do this pointing. OK. So now I'm going to add my satin stitches. So I'm going to do 1, 2, and because I want some a little different than in the satin trees, they actually had you just kind of go the 1, and I'm just going to do this. I'm going to make this so that I can change this. So if I do a right mouse click, this is what I now have. And I can actually make this come to a point if I want to, or actually come out. Whereas when we did the satin trees, it was all one. And now what I need to do is I actually need to get some locking stitches in here so that it's going to lock my fringe in place. So some locking stitches in here. So I have the double zigzag chosen. And again, following those same instructions, I'm going to go over to the fill area and line and make sure that all that's set up. I want my length to 1.5, my zigzag to 0.6, and I do want to have a connecting stitch. So I'm going to do OK. And I'm going to go and I've got double zigzag chosen, I've got create area or line chosen, and I'm going to go from this point to this point and a right mouse button. So that's actually going to put in this double zigzag that's in there that's actually going to hold those stitches in place. Now the other thing I want to do is I want to do a triple stitch. Again, following those same instructions, I'm going to go to fill area and line, make sure that I'm set up with a length of 2.0. And then we're going to click OK. And then create area line should be already highlighted. And then we're going to select in the center of that green, and we're going to come to the other side. Right mouse. All right, so now I need to do the same thing up here, okay? So I need to actually do the same repeat process for this part of that scarf. So I'm going to click on satin column. I already have these things set, but I'm going to go from okay, so now I want to again do the same thing with my satin here. I got my satin column. I'm going to click here. I'm going to click down here, and then I'm going to click here, and I want it to come here, and I'm going to go here, and I'm going to do this. I'm going to do a right mouse button, and a right mouse button again, and I kind of want to get that one really close. Now I do have the set for remove overlap, so it's going to get rid of some of those things. So again, I'm going to pick on double zigzag, and because I already have that chosen up here, it's going to automatically remember the things I need it to do. I'm going to click on here, and I'm going to go to here, right mouse, and again, I want to do that triple stitch, there, to there. And now that's going to give it some really good tight stitches. But if you notice, this is actually going to sew in a different area. I want this to actually sew behind my scarves. So I'm going to actually grab this. I'm going to grab my shift key, and I'm going to slide this up. So it's before stitch. So let's watch it play real quick. And I'm going to go through this. Stitch, 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 stitch. Okay, so I've actually got that all kind of sewing in the order I want it to. So let's go out of here and actually go back to the main part of the software. I'm going to just close this. Now I could save this if I wanted to, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to close this. And because I have color sort and those things already set in configure, it's automatically going to change some of the order of this, but that's okay. Now, if I look at this, I kind of don't like where the face is sitting. I think it's a little bit odd. I'm actually going to come over here. I'm going to do a right mouse button, and I'm going to do edit and digitizing. I love this capability. And I want to make sure that my face is a group. And actually, I think my nose is just a little bit too big. So I'm going to grab my group. I'm going to make my nose just a little bit smaller, and I'll move him down just a little bit and out. I can move him up, but I want to actually take this part of the face and move him around a little bit. So I have this selected, and I'm going to come down now because my eyes and everything are in that same area. I can hold my shift key and grab those, but it's not everything I want. I need to go down here, and I need to get the mouth too. So I'm going to hold my control key and grab each of the groups. And now I can take this and actually move this to where I want it. And I wanted it moved over here just a little bit. I'm going to close out of here. Now he's back to where I want it to be. Now I want to center this whole baby. So I'm going to go home, and I'm going to center in the hoop. But I need to add some buttons, and I need to add that piece of holly. So I'm going to go into SuperDesigns. I'm going to search for Holly. And this is the one I want. And I don't want him quite so big, so I'm going to change that to about a 15. And I'm going to do apply. And I need him to be up here, and I'm going to actually flip him around. So I'm there, and I want it to actually go the other way. I'm going to just flip that little triangle, and I'm going to actually turn it just a little bit. Now you could use anything you wanted here. I chose the single holly rather than the double holly, but that was my personal preference. The other thing I want to do is I want to add my buttons in here. So I'm going to, again, I know that there's buttons in here. And of course, it's going to find the buttonholes first, but this is what I want. I don't want them very big. I'm going to do about a 12. And I can change the stitch type. So I'm actually going to go in and change the density on this just a little bit. So it's a little less dense just because of what I'm sewing on. And I just changed it to a 4. The fill is fine. I'm going to do OK. And I'm going to do apply. And now there's my button, my first button, and I want him about here. And I can do duplicate. I can either go right mouse or a Control D. I can do duplicate. Again, making sure that you're grabbing the 4 arrows and not the one of the corners or the solid area. Now, I forgot to do something. Gee. So I'm going to actually take, and I'm going to take those 3, and I'm going to go home, and I'm going to do, using my Control key, I'm sorry, or my Shift key, and I'm going to grab those 3 things, and I'm going to do combine, combine selected, and then I'm going to do color sort, so they become 1, and I'm going to change the color. And I'm going to make it green just so I have the opportunity to change that when I get moving. Now, because I need these to actually stitch kind of behind the scarf instead of in front of the scarf, I'm just going to take this baby and I'm going to move that up there. And now they are behind. And if I want to watch this stitch out, it's actually going to stitch out because I have color sort selected in configure. It's going to do all my blacks, and then it's going to do those, and then it's going to do those. So it's stitched out. See how my yarn's changed? Now, maybe I want to change something on this. I'm going to select this gate, and I'm going to go back, and I'm going to go into Edit and Digitizing. I love this. And I decided that this guy, I want it to have more of a point. Kind of more similar to this one. And I changed some things about it. And then I can just close this, and now it's changed. So it makes it really, really, really simple to move between the modules. And I hope that helps you try to play a little bit with your software. Thanks.